It started with an ordinary afternoon. But nothing about that day would stay ordinary for long. Shen Yue was cleaning out a drawer she hadn't opened in years. One tucked away, half forgotten, filled with memories from another lifetime. Old scripts, worn-out photos, letters from fans. And buried beneath it all, a single envelope. Her fingers froze. It had his handwriting. Dylan Wang. The name she hadn't spoken aloud in months, though it had lived quietly in her mind all this time. The handwriting was unmistakable, bold, hurried, but with that little tilt at the end of every line, as if the words were trying to run faster than his thoughts. The envelope was sealed, but time had faded the ink. And yet she felt it immediately, that pull. That ache she had long pretended was gone. She hesitated. Should she open it? Or leave it sealed, forever wondering what truth it held? For a moment, she almost put it back. But her hand wouldn't move. It was as if her heart knew, this letter wasn't meant to stay hidden anymore. She broke the seal. The paper trembled in her hands. And then, his voice came alive between the lines. "I don't know how to say this," it began. "So I'll write it instead. Maybe you'll never read it. Maybe you'll find it one day, when it no longer hurts." Her breath caught. She kept reading. "I don't regret meeting you. But I regret everything I never said. I regret every time I laughed instead of telling you the truth. I regret letting silence become our language." Tears filled her eyes before she even reached the next paragraph. "On set, when you smiled at me, it felt like the world stopped pretending. For those few seconds, we weren't acting anymore. We were us. And I was terrified, because I didn't know what to do with that truth." Shen Yue pressed the letter against her chest. Her tears fell softly, one after another. He wrote it during their last drama together, the one that made them both household names, back when rumors followed them like shadows, and every gaze was a camera lens. Back when they said it was all just good chemistry, nothing more. But now, the letter told a different story. The next lines were heavier. "I wanted to tell you after the last scene. I waited outside your trailer. But then your manager came out, and I saw the look on her face, like I was something you needed to get over, not hold on to. So I walked away. And I've been walking away ever since." Her hand shook. She could picture that night so clearly. The rap party, the laughter, the fake smiles. She had felt his absence like a missing heartbeat. And she had told herself it was nothing. Just work ending, people moving on. But now she knew. He had been there. And he had left before she could look back. Her vision blurred as she read the final lines. "I kept your scarf. The one you left in my car that winter. It still smells like you, faint but there. Maybe one day, if you ever read this, you'll know that it wasn't just acting for me. You were real. You still are." The last sentence wasn't signed. Just his initials. D.W. Like a whisper that didn't want to fade. She folded the letter carefully, holding it as if it might dissolve in her palms. The room felt smaller now, filled with ghosts of the past. Every laugh they'd shared, every argument, every quiet look that meant more than words. Her phone buzzed suddenly, breaking the silence. A message from her assistant. "Hey, did you hear? Dylan's coming to Tokyo for the fan event next week." Her heart skipped. Tokyo. Of all places. She stared at the message for a long time, the letter still warm in her hands. The city that once held their best memories was calling them both back. But this time, she would be the one carrying the truth. Days passed in a blur. She packed for her own event in the same city, wondering if fate was playing one last cruel trick. At the airport, flashes of cameras and reporters filled the space. And though she smiled politely, her thoughts were 1,000 miles away, caught between ink and silence. When she arrived in Tokyo, the night air was crisp. The streets glowed with neon reflections and memories she couldn't quite erase. And somewhere out there, he was breathing the same air. That evening, she walked near the Shibuya crossing, where they once filmed a scene together years ago. The crowd, the noise, the rain that had begun to fall softly. It all felt too familiar. And then she saw him. He was across the street, wearing a black coat, his head slightly bowed under the drizzle. For a second, she thought it was her imagination. But then he looked up. Their eyes met. The world fell silent. No cameras, no lights, no scripts. Just two people standing in the middle of Tokyo, with years of unsaid words between them. He didn't move at first. Neither did she. The light changed. People crossed between them like waves, but their gaze held firm, unbroken. And then he started walking. Slowly, as if each step was weighed down by everything he'd never said. When he reached her, he didn't speak. Just looked at her, eyes wet, voice caught in his throat. She held up the letter. His eyes widened. "You found it," he whispered. She nodded. Her lips trembled. "I wish I'd read it sooner." The rain fell harder now, tracing their faces like tears from the sky. He looked away, trying to steady his breath. "I wrote it the night I realized I couldn't pretend anymore. But I was too afraid to send it." "Why?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Because I thought you'd already moved on. Because silence felt safer than rejection." She smiled sadly. Silence was never safer, Dylan. It just hurt longer. For a moment, he looked at her like he was memorizing her face all over again. Every freckle, every unspoken word. Then he said softly, "I'm sorry." 2 words. But they carried the weight of everything he never said in that letter. She didn't reply. She didn't need to. Because in that moment, under the rain-soaked Tokyo lights, forgiveness didn't need words. They stood there until the traffic thinned and the rain softened to mist. 2 hearts that had once lost each other, quietly finding their rhythm again, even if only for a moment. When she finally turned to leave, she slipped the letter back into her pocket. But not before whispering, "Thank you for writing it." He watched her walk away, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. Maybe this wasn't the kind of ending he once hoped for. But it was real. And that made it enough. Later that night, as she sat by her hotel window, she unfolded the letter one more time. This time she smiled. Not with sadness, but with gratitude. Because now she knew, even if love didn't last, truth did. And sometimes that's all.